This is a review of the Astrocade game skillful, and I've already loaded the title screen and I've just stopped loading it. I'm going to end up having to load it again, but while I'm doing a little bit of talking here, I figured I'd give you something to look at. I'm creating this review of Super Slope for the Astrocade as a bonus point for Season 2 of the High Score Club. This is round 5. It ends tomorrow, May 28th, 2017 at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The bonus game, normally it's a basic bonus game, and this actually does load into basic, but it is actually a machine language game, and they do some pretty peculiar things in order to get it to work. But it does work, and it's got some issues, I think, some bugs. It doesn't work exactly like it's supposed to, as it says in the manual, but hey, it is what it is, and it's a pretty good example of like the weirdness you could do in basic. Well, like I said, it's machine language, but some of the ways you could get around basics limitations. For instance, Bally basic only allows you to have 2 colors on the screen at once. This one does away with that, and by doing some weird things, which you'll see when the game starts, you can have more than 2 colors on the screen. Here's a picture of Super Slope's box, a close-up of the front of the box, the tape that had the Astro Basic version of the game, and the instructions for the game. The basic bonus game was written, Super Slope, it was written by Esoterica Ltd. And Esoterica was made up of Drescher and James Curran. This machine language game was released on tape in 1982. In an Esoterica advertisement on page G7 of the spring 1983 source book, the game is called Ski Slope. The game's description from that ad says, "They called him Super Skier, though he never had a lesson, and now you take up where he left off. Super Slope is a super skiing program from Esoterica Ltd. No experience necessary." I'm pretty sure this game cost $15.95, if I remember correctly, which is pretty expensive, especially in '83 during the American video game crash, when you could go to like a KB Toys or something like that, or Toys R Us, and they usually had many cartridges for many systems for $5, $10. I bought a whole bunch of them, including games even for systems like the home computers, like the Commodore 64. I bought one of my favorite games of all time for any system is Beam Rider. I bought that from my Commodore 64 probably in 84 maybe. At a place called Fish's Big Wheel in Brooklyn, Connecticut. Let's see here. The game's description from the December 1982 Arcadian is very similar. It says the same thing as the above, but it adds great fun and smooth action machine language graphics. Now that's something that's you see thrown around quite a bit on the Astrocade, is that the graphics use smooth action. And about 3 minutes have gone by in this video, and you'll notice I just finished making a video for the other game, the main game this month, which was 280 Zap, and at about 3 minutes in, the screen went blank, and that's because it was calling subroutines. However, I've stopped this, and it's not calling subroutines, and it probably wasn't going to do it anyway because it would have taken extra overhead, so I doubt it would have worked anyway, but I would be highly doubtful if the screen blanks. However, I'm not too worried about the burn-in in this game because I don't think I'm going to be playing this for an hour or 2 or 10 or however long it takes to burn in a game or burn in a screen. Michael White notes, and Michael White is a big Astrocade fan from the early 80s, and he was part of the community pretty recently, and I guess he still might be considered that. He says that the Astro Basic cartridge is only needed to load the Super Slope program. The game will run with the Astro Basic cartridge removed. And I've tested this out. I'm not going to do it here on the video, but after you load the game, if you carefully press the eject button, the game will keep playing. So, which is interesting because all the RAM it's using a screen RAM, and the Astrocade must be in some sort of configuration where it's not looking to see if anything had been ejected out of the system. So yeah, so there you go. Here's the instructions for the game. You load the game with : input run, and then in less than 1 minute, the game will run automatically. Stop the recorder and follow the play instructions. In multiple player games, which it talks about multiple player games, but as far as I've been able to figure out, there's no way to have more than 1 player. Let's see. They called him Super Skier, and even though they had to carry him off the hill, he was back on top in minutes and ready to try again. Under the skillful guidance of your joystick, he will dodge rocks and brush trees in a mad downhill race against time as arm and waving fans pack the sidelines, urging him on. And the waving fans in this game are actually, they look like garbage, literally like computer garbage. But that's actually the code for the game on the screen. Sometimes you might have heard of Yar's Revenge in the 2600 putting the code in the screen for that, like the mess in the screen that's like where you're invulnerable. Well, in this game, it's a similar idea, actually. Except since there is only screen RAM, the programmers had no choice, because most things that were on cartridge only needed a small amount of RAM, for locations and things like that. But if you're going to store your program, you need it to put it somewhere, and they did it here, and it's very unusual. I'm actually going to be pointing my finger at the screen to give you an example of what you see. Let's see. So, where was I? Warning, do not pull the trigger unless you are an Olympic material. And what the trigger allows you to do is to go faster. Which end will you experience? The thrill of victory or the agony of defeat? So they give you some scoring. Like, if you score greater than 50, go directly to the hospital. Do not pass the finish line. Do not collect the prize money. And the idea in this game is to get the lowest score possible. And I think the score represents seconds or minutes or something. But it doesn't work exactly like the manual says. So any score greater than 50 is, like I said, you go to the hospital. At least that's the idea. 39 to 49, beginner slopes are more suitable to your ability. 29 to 38, you can now fall down on national TV and still look good. Less than 29, you have achieved the thrill of victory. So I have not gotten too good. I think I usually range between 29 and 38, so I guess I can fall down on TV and still look good. Super Slope is a 100% machine language program. During the entering routine, a sign will appear at the bottom of the screen, and the sign it's referring to here is actually on screen right now. It's talking about the Super Slope Ski Lodge. One half of the sign will disappear after the screen loads, if I hadn't have stopped this game from loading, which I'll show you how the game loads here shortly. As the screen scrolls down, the program will load and then run automatically. To replay, press go on the keyboard. Now, I know I'm not very great at making these videos, and it's probably kind of boring just to look at the plain screen here, but I've got more reading to do, so I'm going to keep on going, and you'll eventually get to see the game. Note that the game doesn't actually seem to follow these scoring directions, as I said earlier, as your score is 4 digits, not 2. Perhaps the last 2 of the 4 digits represent hundredths of a second. Now, I've actually timed it because I'm a nerd, and they're not even close to being seconds, but it could be. So Michael Process wrote a review of Super Slope in the Game Player number 9, which was printed in the Arcadian Newsletter, Volume 5, number 9, on July 22nd, 1983, on page 140. And I'm going to actually read the complete review. It's a few paragraphs, not too long. And it's always neat to hear reviews of contemporary reviews of games, especially tape games, because there aren't too many contemporary reviews of games for the Astrocade that were on tape. And so he says, it is no longer necessary to go to your neighborhood video arcade and drop a quarter in Atari's Alpine Ski, for Super Slope is just as good. As the one and only skiing game for the Astrocade system, this Esoterica ski adventure is extremely good and well thought out. In this one-player game, the player directs his skier downhill, avoiding pine trees and large rocks by using the joystick to ski left or right across the slope. A quick tap on the joystick increases the skier's direction from straight to slightly angled. Another tap increases the angle further, and another tap will have the skier doing a traverse. I'm not sure what a traverse means here. The same holds true for either direction. Squeezing the trigger will increase the skier's speed. As one who enjoys downhill skiing, I am impressed at how well Esoterica has simulated the actual movement of a real skier. I have to disagree. But it continues. The graphics in Super Slope are well done. That I do agree with for an Astrocade game. The Astrocade has pretty low-res graphics, so I think they did a good job with what they had. And the sound of the skis on snow is well simulated. Super Slope is a good example of what machine language can be done for a game, and I agree with that. There's just no way this game could have been written in BASIC. First of all, it would have had to been monochrome, and second of all, like once you pull the trigger and you go pretty fast, things really move quite quickly. There's some issues with the game, like sometimes part of your quote sprite, there's no real sprites on the system, but you might as well refer them as sprites. Just like on the Atari 8-bit home computers, there's not sprites, but they're player missiles, but they're same idea. Here, they're actually just parts of the bitmap screen, so not really sprites or player missiles or anything of the sort, but it's a good generic term to use. People understand what it means. People still use it to this day. There are only a few problems with Super Slope, according to this review. The skier often leaves an arm or a leg behind when he skims a tree, which is totally true, you'll see as I'm playing, and we have not been able to determine how the scoring is accomplished. The instructions, which could use some improvement, indicate a score of 50 as not so good and less than 29 as victory. However, the screen will show a 4-digit number at the end of play, such as 5471. We deliberately crashed our skier constantly and achieved a score of 24-8. What do these numbers mean? GamePlayer will publish an explanation if it receives one from Esoterica, which, as far as I could tell, and I did look, it never happened. The other problem we found is that there's a loud continuous raspy noise during initial play till the skier hits an object. Then the noise will disappear. Perhaps this is a problem with our particular cassette, or it may be a program problem. And I do know what it means. It's not too big of a deal. There's another game on the Astrocade called Road Toad that seems to do the same thing. And that's also a machine language game written in BASIC, but I'm not sure why it does it. Let's see. Overall, Super Slope is an excellent game and will probably be enjoyed even by non-skiers. Those who like it, liked it, and it held our attention. It's a good ski game, folks. Herb Matthews wrote in the mailbag and the game player number 17, he said, "Thanks for the consistent, high quality, and informative nature of your monthly reviews. They are definitely influenced my software purchases." Michael Process says, "Herb loves Super Slope and feels that it would make a terrific cartridge." And you know, I tend to agree. It is a pretty good game. It's gotten a lot of faults. I think it probably shouldn't have been released the way it was. It doesn't quite work right, I don't think. But it's a pretty good technical achievement for the system. I think Skiing by Activision on the Atari 2600 is far better. They had a lot more to work with. They had more ROM. Theirs was written in machine language too. But once you start seeing how this works, it's I'm going to do a little bit of technical stuff here in this video to show you what I'm talking about. Anyway, in summary, Super Slope is interesting. It seems really close to being a good game, but it doesn't seem to have the polish or follow-through. Plus, there are some graphical glitches. I have a soft spot for it, though, as it does seem pretty impressive. Technical tricks on an unexpanded Astrocade for a game that is not a cartridge. Well, this is what happens when reading from a piece of paper that has issues. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sorry about that. Well, that's enough of that. I'm going to actually reset the system. So now I'm going to load the game from my old iPhone. I've already got it set up here. I'm going to try to put it in focus here. You can't read what's on the screen, but I'm going to actually start the game here in a second. I totally messed up. I had it going. Now, here we go. So first I want to type in colon, input, semicolon, run. Now I start loading the game. So the first thing that happens in this is normally a game on the Astrocade will load in 20 seconds. This game actually loads a title screen first. I think it's written in BASIC, and then it draws what we have been previously looking at on the screen. And it's pretty interesting the way it does it. It does it slowly. If you're familiar with any of the Sierra Online games from the early 80s, some of those games would be done in the same manner. They drew it like that. I actually particularly like the way it writes the ski lodge here on the sign at the bottom of the screen. So we're about 30 seconds in. By now, if this was a regular BASIC game, it would have been totally loaded. And it's not actually loading anything. I think right now on the quote tape, even though this is a file on my phone, I think what we'll be seeing is it's just probably blank. But now the game is going to continue loading, so you're going to see the bottom of the screen, well, not the screen, the bottom of the sign disappear. And we've got about 12 more seconds to load or something like that. And everything you see here, I'm going to point to the screen. This is all the machine language code on both sides of the screen. So we've got this coming down, and it's still in monochrome, and in a minute you're going to see it turn to color and look like garbage. And the game starts playing. I got my controller, and you can perhaps hear it hissing. So that's basically the game. You're seeing the whole game already. I can cruise pretty fast. So the game, I like it. I wish it didn't have issues. Like you can see, I'm leaving parts of my quote sprite behind, which I don't know why that is. And I also mentioned, because I've been playing this for the High Score Club a little bit, not too much, because it's not that great of a game, but that I've had this game crash on me several times, and where I've had to reset the system. which my system's pretty stable otherwise. So I find that kind of sad. I'm just going to play a quick game. Mostly you've been watching the title screen, but if you've kept with me so far, you've gotten to see the game play. Yeah, there's 4 colors on the screen. There's red. Oh, I hit the finish line. Now you can hear that terrible hiss. I'm going to press go to restart the game. I'll play one more game. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can this time. All the way down. And I guess instead of holding the trigger down, so you can see it goes a lot slower. This is how slow it goes if you don't hold the trigger. Hold the trigger. Not holding the trigger. Hold the trigger. Oh, shit. Looks like I left my head behind that time. So I'm going pretty slow. And you go really slow if you go sideways. Like, really, really slow. I've never skied in my life. I'd probably be leaving all these bits of myself behind too if I was actually skiing. So this is what I mean by this game. It doesn't seem polished. It's just... I mean, it's neat. I think it's not... It would not have been worth $15.95 back in 1983. I think they should have concentrated on making a cartridge game, which eventually they did. Esoterica, I guess they did release Sea Devil on cartridge, and that's a pretty good game. So I guess this came out first. So, you know, they were polishing up their skills. They learned to program a little better. Although I think Andy Guevara actually programmed that game, and I think it was published by Esoterica. All right, I'm going to press get down to the bottom of the screen, and that'll be that again. And here we go. Ah, got to the finish. All right, my top is about 35 seconds, I think, or 2 sets of numbers. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the game. It's a little weird, but if you can picture, I'm going to point a couple of more things. You can probably hear the static, but like I said, this is all the game's code. So it's pretty interesting that it works at all. So the graphics for the game are in here. There might be some down here too, because you can blank the bottom of the screen and not have what's on the screen show up. So I imagine that's down there. But I think their explanation that these on both sides are your cheering crowd, that's kind of cool. So I dig it. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll make another one next month.